The Banning House Museum is probably one of the most famous tourist attractions in Los Angeles, but it's also, sadly, one of the most unknown, which is a pity because it's absolutely fascinating. I'm sitting here talking to Cristina Lovett, who, as her card said, is a museum educator, which is actually not quite true because she's an absolute goldmine of fascinating information. Cristina, tell us a little bit about who Mr. Banning was and briefly what this house is.
Mr. Banning was an early California pioneer, and he established this home in 1864, right during the Civil War, and had his hands pretty much in almost every industry in this area. And the house is a great testament to his character and to his status in society here.
Did he have money?
Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. He was a true entrepreneur, so sometimes his things worked out great, and other times not so much.
So can you show us some of the interesting rooms here?
Oh, absolutely.
So Cristina, the room we're in now is what?
This is the office, we call it the General's office, and it has some of his artifacts in here and really why he was such an important person in early Los Angeles history. He was appointed Brigadier General in the National Guard of California and also the California State Militia because of all of his work that he did for the Union. He helped supply mail for them, for the Union officers, not only here in the drum barracks, but in Fort Tejon, in Yuma, Arizona, and so various places to San Bernardino and stuff like that. And so
this thing here on the wall with all those signatures, what is that?
That's the next document. That is the abolishment of the 13th Amendment, and he signed that along with several other California state senators and assemblymen.
And everything in here is original. I mean, that desk is actually his, or was his desk.
Yes, we think it was one of his desks or a family piece for sure. The chair in the corner is also a family piece, the secretary, and then the bank, or the safe right there is also...
That's a safe?
Yes. Southern California didn't have banks at that time, so he definitely needed one. This is the parlor, and this is the room where I think more business happened in this house than in the office in particular. This room was where important guests would come in to be entertained and then move from the parlor into the dining room and have a lavish meal. Meals lasted 2-3 hours. And so coming back after that into this room and discussing important matters or just social things, keeping up on the news of what's going on in the day.
Always more easy to do business in a relaxed surrounding.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, Cristina, we're about to walk into an incredible room here that is set up, looks like to me, for a state dinner. What exactly was this?
This is the dining room, and it's set up for a luncheon. We have various Victorian items. Everything in here is a period piece. We have some interesting items. There's a mechanical butter dish over here on this buffet.
The mechanical butter dish.
So there's a lever on top, and you just pull it slowly, and there would be butter in this middle section and ice down at the bottom. So instead of just using your hand and taking it off, you use this little mechanism to open the dish. And then the lid would stay up. And we have little tongue kind of for a butter knife, a little space for the butter knife thing.
All this china all looks to me, and the silverware and everything, I mean, again, does someone come in and polish that all the time?
Yes, we have we have one particular docent who will come in and just polish silver. They really did make more of a meal than what we do today. Most of us sit around the TV and eat in 5 minutes. And so, like I said earlier, meals took a long time, and it was a time for bonding as well.
Yeah, and no television in those days.
That's right, no electricity.
These sort of circles here, I mean, are they Olympic medals or something? What is that?
It's a gong in the Gothic style, and it was the middle son's wife's. It was hers. So each son took turns living here with their families, and this is one of her contributions to the household.
What was it used for? I mean, did they knock this and then summon, the next course?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, they
so
did?
yeah, so whether a servant did it or a member of the family did it, there's a little hammer. Exactly. There was a pattern to it, but that's since been lost. And
So I just rang for the dessert.
maybe so.
Yeah. We're standing on the second floor with some very colorful glass panes. What exactly is that for?
To show Phineas Banning's affiliation to the Union side during the Civil War. So anyone from outside approaching, at least during nighttime when this hallway was illuminated, could see the red and blue panes and know that he was for the Union.
A little political statement.
Yes.
It's always interesting, Christina, to see where people of wealth in those days, spent their off hours or their bedroom hours. We're standing now in...
This is the master bedroom. And Phineas Banning and first Rebecca lived here. And then when Rebecca passed away 2 years later, Phineas and Mary lived here.
That's kind of an intriguing thing down there that looks like some steps. Was that indeed steps to get into the bed?
Yeah, they were steps, but they have a dual purpose. You just pull this middle step out, and then you have their chamber pot inside.
Whoa!
This is the nursery, and the youngest son who survived, Hancock, he was born in this house. He was the first child born in this house. So we have neat things furnishings that the children used. We have a potty chair that's a little captain's chair, and then towards the back there's a American walker, and the crib. It even has a drop-down side. So if you know about picking babies up and putting them down into the crib, that side that drops down is really helpful.
Was that pretty advanced for that time?
It seems that way. I wouldn't have expected that any of those things would be around during the Victorian times, but during that time, furniture for little people, children, were made at that time. So.
Aren't these, I love all those old dolls. I mean, all these dolls here, what sort of, are they like 1850, earlier than that?
Yes, most of them are around 1850 to 1870s, and none of these were made here in the United States. They were all imported from Europe, most likely Germany, England, France, and so that's, shows that they had a little bit of money because they were imported.
And the doll lying on the bed there, that big one, that's probably quite valuable.
It is. It has human hair.
Human hair?
Yes.
Whoa.
This is the boys' room, and we have it set up for young boys around 9 to about 12 years old.
The thing that really surprises me, over there in the corner, I see what the British call a penny farthing bicycle. I don't know what Americans call them, but in England it was called a penny farthing because, as you see, the little wheel is very small, and that was an English coin called a farthing. And the big wheel is huge, and in England a penny in those days was enormous, hence the name penny farthing. Can you imagine boys riding on things like that?
No, I can't. There aren't brakes, so it's very dangerous, it seems.
So the room that we're in now, I understand, is called Mary's room, and Mary's room means what?
Mary was a second wife. She was from a well-to-do family, the Hollisters, and any well-to-do woman would have had her own home office. And so this is like her home office. And the bed that you see really wasn't for her. It was more for a female guest, an aunt or a cousin or a very close friend.